Daniel tightened his grip on the railing of his small spacecraft as it descended through the golden clouds of the distant palace world. He had seen images of this planet from orbit before, but nothing compared to the real sight. Towers of shining crystal rose from the ground, reaching toward the pale blue sky. Rivers of silver water twisted between the spires like glowing ribbons. This was the seat of the alien queen, ruler of a civilization humans barely understood. He had trained for years for this mission. Earth had sent him to deliver peace, to show the aliens that humanity was willing to cooperate. But standing at the entrance to the landing platform, Daniel felt a mix of excitement and unease. The air shimmered with energy, carrying a scent unlike anything he had known. It was sweet and sharp, alive with movement. As his boots touched the platform, the ground vibrated lightly beneath him. He looked up, and there she was. The alien queen stood on a balcony above the landing bay. Her figure was taller than any human, graceful in a way that made the air itself seem to bend around her. Her skin glowed faintly, reflecting the colors of the palace behind her. Two luminous eyes met his across the distance, piercing yet calm. For a moment, Daniel felt as though she was reading his thoughts. He had faced dangerous missions before, but nothing compared to the intensity of her gaze. Then, without warning, she lifted a hand in greeting. It was a slow, deliberate motion, full of authority and curiosity. Daniel lowered his helmet slightly and returned the gesture. "Welcome, human," a voice said inside his communicator, but it was not mechanical. It was smooth, melodic, and Daniel realized it came from the Queen herself. The sound resonated deep in his chest, as if her voice carried a weight that demanded attention. He stepped forward, his boots clicking on the polished surface. The landing bay was empty except for him, and yet the Queen's presence filled the space. Around her, alien guards moved silently, their bodies tall and armored in colors Daniel could not name. Their eyes were fixed on him, cautious but respectful. "Daniel of Earth," the Queen said, her tone even, almost gentle. "You have traveled far. Tell me, why do you come to my world?" Daniel swallowed, steadying his voice. "I come with peace, Your Majesty. My mission is to understand your people and to offer friendship between our worlds. I carry no weapons, only words and hope." The Queen's gaze did not waver. She stepped down from the balcony and moved toward a grand entrance that led into the palace itself. Her movement was fluid, like water flowing, and Daniel could not take his eyes off her. "Many humans have come before," she said. "Most seek conquest, others knowledge, but few bring honor. You may enter, but know this, the path inside tests more than skill. It tests the spirit." Daniel felt a shiver run down his spine. He nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty." The massive doors of the palace opened, revealing a hall that seemed endless. Light shimmered from the walls, reflecting in patterns that reminded him of stars. Strange plants with luminous leaves lined the pathway, and small flying creatures moved between them like living lanterns. The floor beneath him was smooth but seemed to pulse with energy. Daniel realized that every step he took made the palace react subtly, as if it were alive. The Queen walked beside him, though not touching him. Daniel noticed that her eyes occasionally flicked to him, studying him carefully. It was not a casual glance, it was examination, curiosity, and perhaps a hint of amusement. "You are not afraid," she said. Her voice was a whisper, yet it echoed clearly in the vast hall. "Most would tremble at the first sight of my people. Tell me, human, what gives you courage?" Daniel thought about his life on Earth. He remembered training in harsh conditions, the challenges of survival, and the lessons his parents had taught him about honesty and integrity. "I do not claim to be fearless, Your Majesty," he said. "I am afraid. But I believe fear is a guide, not a barrier. Courage is moving forward even when the path is unknown." The Queen paused. For a long moment, she simply looked at him, and Daniel felt that the hall had fallen silent. Even the light seemed to dim slightly as if waiting for her judgment. Then she nodded slowly. "You speak with clarity," she said. "That is rare among your kind. You may walk further. But know this, the tests ahead are not simple. They are not of your body, but of your mind and heart." Daniel followed her deeper into the palace. They passed chambers where alien scholars studied stars with machines that bent light, rooms filled with strange objects he could not name, and corridors that seemed to change subtly as he moved. Sometimes, he caught glimpses of alien faces watching from above, their expressions unreadable. Finally, they arrived at a large chamber. It had no furniture, only a soft glowing floor and walls that reflected Daniel's image back at him in fragments. The queen stopped in the center, turning to face him. "This is the Hall of Truth," she explained. "Here, all who enter must reveal their essence. Fear, desire, strength, and weakness will be seen. Are you ready to proceed, Daniel of Earth?" He took a deep breath and nodded. "I am ready, Your Majesty." The queen's lips curved in a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Very well. Step forward, human. Show me who you are." Daniel felt the floor beneath him pulse, and the reflections on the walls began to shift. Instead of showing only his image, the hall seemed to display his memories, his choices, and the moments that had shaped him. He saw his family, his friends, the victories and failures of his life. For the first time, he realized that this was no ordinary palace. It responded to the truth within him. The queen moved closer, her presence overwhelming yet comforting. "Do not fear what you see," she said. "The hall reveals, but it does not judge. Judgment comes from those who witness your courage in action." Daniel nodded, focusing on steadying his breath. He was here not just to survive, but to represent humanity. Every choice, every action, every word mattered. And somehow, in this chamber, he understood that the alien queen already sensed that. As the reflections continued to shift, Daniel felt a strange calm. This was only the beginning, but he was determined. No matter what trials lay ahead, he would meet them with honesty, courage, and the heart of a human. The queen watched silently, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. A faint smile touched her lips, the first hint of something that might grow into trust. Daniel could not know it yet, but the journey inside the palace would challenge everything he believed about courage, connection, and the power of humanity in ways he had never imagined. Daniel stepped deeper into the palace with the alien queen following close behind. The Hall of Truth had shifted again, walls now glowing with patterns that seemed alive. The reflections of his memories had faded, replaced by new images, scenes of humans facing danger, helping one another, surviving against impossible odds. Daniel felt the weight of all those moments, as if the hall was asking him to remember who he truly was. "This chamber tests more than skill," the queen said, her voice soft but carrying power. "It tests honesty, courage, and the essence of your spirit. Few humans endure this trial without faltering. You may see things that challenge your mind and heart. Are you prepared?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I am ready, Your Majesty." The queen nodded and raised her hand. The floor beneath Daniel shifted slightly, forming a small glowing platform. From it rose a shimmering sphere of light, swirling with colors he could not name. "This is the test of reflection," she explained. "Step forward. Face what you fear most." Daniel hesitated only for a moment. He knew fear was a part of every human, but he had trained to meet it head-on. Stepping onto the platform, he felt a strange sensation, as if he was being lifted slightly off the ground. The sphere of light expanded, wrapping around him. Suddenly, Daniel found himself standing in a scene that looked like Earth. He was back on his first mission, years ago, when a storm had threatened his team on a distant mountain. The wind howled, lightning struck, and he could see his friends struggling to hold their position. He wanted to run, to escape the danger, but he remembered the decision he had made then, to stay, to help, and to face the storm. A voice echoed in the sphere, not the Queen's, but deeper, as if it came from the hall itself. Would you run again, human, if it meant safety? Or would you stand for others? Daniel's heart beat fast, but he did not hesitate. I would stand, he said firmly. I would protect those who cannot protect themselves. I would face the danger, even if I fail. The scene shifted instantly. Now he was in the middle of a desert on Mars, a mission where he had led a team to rescue stranded colonists. Heat scorched his skin, and supplies were low. One wrong choice could have ended everything. Yet he had remained calm, directing his team with focus and care. The sphere showed every detail of his decisions. Your choices are remembered, the voice said. Your courage is real. But the test is not over. Suddenly, the environment changed again. Daniel found himself floating in a zero-gravity chamber, surrounded by shapes that shifted like smoke. He could not tell if they were solid or illusions. They moved toward him, forming faces of people he had never met but feared losing. Panic tried to creep in, but he focused on his training. He remembered the Queen's words, courage is moving forward even when the path is unknown. With steady hands and calm breaths, he reached out and touched one of the shapes. It dissolved instantly, leaving him standing in the center of the chamber. He realized the test was not about fighting or escaping but understanding fear and confronting it honestly. The Queen appeared beside him within the sphere. Her presence was calm, yet her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Few endure without doubt, she said. Your courage is quiet, measured, and true. You understand what most humans never learn. Daniel felt a swell of pride, but he did not let it distract him. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only try to do what is right. The sphere vanished suddenly, and Daniel found himself back on the glowing platform in the palace hall. The patterns on the walls pulsed in approval, sending gentle waves of light across the room. He felt a rush of energy, as if the hall itself had acknowledged his success. The Queen turned to him with a small smile. Your honesty is evident, and your courage is clear. But there is one final test in this chamber, the test of connection. You will face beings who are not your enemies, yet their presence may unsettle you. You must find understanding and trust. Before Daniel could respond, the walls of the hall shimmered again, forming 6 figures. They were alien, taller than Daniel, with skin that reflected light like the palace towers. Their eyes glowed faintly, and each of them held a weapon, but they did not raise it. Instead, they watched him with suspicion. Daniel realized this was another trial. He could try to fight them, but the Queen had already warned him, the test was not physical. He lowered his hands, keeping his posture calm. I do not come to harm, he said clearly. I am here to understand and to offer peace. The aliens moved closer, testing him silently. Their faces showed doubt, curiosity, and cautious respect. Daniel spoke of his life on Earth, his training, and his belief that beings of different worlds could learn from one another. He told them stories of teamwork, sacrifice, and trust. Slowly, the aliens relaxed. Their weapons lowered. One of them nodded, and Daniel felt a wave of relief. The Queen's voice echoed again. You have shown insight, bravery, and the ability to connect. These qualities are rare. Many humans come with strength or cunning, but few possess your spirit. The hall acknowledges your worth. Daniel felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also humility. He had faced trials designed by a being far wiser and more powerful than himself. Yet he had survived not by force, but by staying true to his heart. The Queen stepped forward. You have passed the first trial, she said. But the journey does not end here. Trust and courage are only the beginning. The palace holds many challenges, and the world beyond holds dangers that will test every skill you possess. Are you ready to continue, Daniel of Earth? Daniel nodded without hesitation. I am ready, Your Majesty. I will do my best to honor your trust and the opportunity you have given me. The Queen's smile widened slightly. It was the first time he had seen her express genuine warmth. Very well, she said. Follow me. The next trial awaits, and it will test not only your courage but the depth of your heart. As they walked deeper into the palace, Daniel could feel the weight of the Queen's observation. She was not simply watching him, she was studying him, learning who he truly was. And Daniel understood that every step he took now mattered not just for himself, but for the chance to build trust between humanity and her people. He had passed the first test, but the palace promised that many more awaited. Still, for the first time in his life, Daniel felt that he was not just surviving, he was becoming part of something greater, something that could change the fate of two worlds. The palace air was calm, almost serene, but Daniel could feel tension beneath the quiet. The alien queen led him through corridors that seemed to change with every step. Walls shifted, revealing new chambers and passageways filled with luminous flora and softly glowing streams. Daniel kept his senses alert. Even in peace, he knew danger could arise. As they walked, a group of alien generals emerged from the shadows. They were taller than most of the Queen's guards, their skin shimmering with metallic tones, and their expressions were sharp and cold. Daniel noticed the subtle tension in their posture. Unlike the Queen, they did not move with grace. Their movements were calculated, strict, and filled with authority. Your Majesty, one general spoke, his voice deep and commanding. This human is untested. We cannot be certain of his loyalty or his worth. Should we allow him to remain within the palace? The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Daniel has already faced the Hall of Truth. He has shown honesty, courage, and the ability to connect with others. Your doubt is noted, but he is under my protection. The generals shifted uncomfortably. One of them stepped forward. With respect, Your Majesty, humans are fragile. Their strength cannot match ours. They may bring disruption, or worse, betrayal. We suggest he be returned to his world until further proof is offered. Daniel swallowed. He could feel the weight of their judgment, yet he did not falter. He remembered the lessons he had learned on Earth: confidence, respect, and integrity. I understand your concerns, he said calmly. But I am here to learn, to help, and to protect, if needed. I do not ask for blind trust, only a chance to prove myself. The generals exchanged looks, and one muttered something under his breath. The Queen's hand rose, quiet but firm. Enough, she said. If Daniel is to remain, he will earn trust not by words, but by action. Let that be the proof you seek. Before Daniel could respond, alarm sounded throughout the palace. A deep rumble shook the walls. Daniel stumbled but caught himself, eyes wide. The generals immediately moved into defensive positions, weapons appearing in their hands, ready to respond. What is happening? Daniel asked, his voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline. A rogue warship from a neighboring system has entered our space, the Queen said. Her voice remained calm, but Daniel sensed the urgency beneath it. It is armed with weapons not meant for peaceful contact. They seek to test our defenses. Daniel's mind raced. He had trained for emergencies like this, but the scale of the threat was unlike anything he had faced before. How can I help, Your Majesty? He asked. The Queen studied him for a moment. Your knowledge of human technology may be useful. Come with me. Observe carefully, and act when the moment arrives. They moved to a chamber overlooking the palace grounds. From the enormous windows, Daniel could see the approaching warship. It was massive, dark, and bristling with weaponry. Alien guards were already preparing defenses, but the Queen's strategy seemed to rely on precision, not brute force. Daniel noticed a control panel that resembled Earth's old command consoles. With guidance from the Queen, he began recalibrating defensive shields. He worked quickly, using logic, problem-solving, and instincts honed over years of training. The Queen watched silently, her eyes never leaving his hands as they moved across the panels. "Your speed is impressive," she said quietly. "But remember, strategy is not only speed. It is patience and understanding the enemy's intent." The warship fired first, energy blasts streaking toward the palace. The shields flared, absorbing the impact. Daniel adjusted the settings, redirecting energy to weaker points in the defense. He realized that the Queen had created a system that relied on balanced strength and flexibility, much like humans had in their military simulations. For several minutes, the battle raged. Daniel coordinated with the palace guards, predicting the warship's movements and strengthening defenses where needed. He felt a thrill, not of excitement alone, but of purpose. Each successful action reinforced his confidence. Finally, the warship approached close enough that Daniel saw the alien pilots inside. They were aggressive and skilled, but their attacks lacked unity. Daniel realized they were testing the palace, not attacking to destroy immediately. Using the knowledge of human tactics, he suggested a counter-strategy: lure the ship closer while concentrating energy on one weak point. The Queen approved silently. The plan worked. The warship's shields failed at a critical moment, and the palace's energy nets captured it without loss of life. The rogue vessel was rendered harmless, and the palace remained intact. The generals turned to the Queen, their expressions unreadable. Daniel, exhausted but exhilarated, waited for judgment. The Queen's eyes softened as she looked at him. "You acted with courage, intelligence, and honor. You faced fear, worked with others, and protected my people. You have proven what words cannot convey." One general stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Human, your actions have saved the palace. I see now that your spirit is strong and your heart true. You have earned the right to remain." Daniel nodded, relief washing over him. He realized that this battle was more than a test of skill, it was a test of character. The Queen had given him a chance to show not just bravery, but humanity's unique ability to act with honor and empathy. The Queen moved closer. "Many humans focus on technology, power, or ambition," she said softly. "But you understand something deeper. You connect with others, even those very different from you. That is a strength beyond measure." Daniel bowed his head slightly. "I only do what I believe is right. I hope it is enough." The Queen placed a luminous hand lightly on his shoulder. "It is more than enough. But remember, Daniel of Earth, this is only the beginning. Challenges will come that test not just your courage, but your heart and your mind. You must be ready." Daniel looked around the chamber, seeing the palace guards and generals now watching him with respect. He understood that he was no longer just a visitor. He had earned a place, even if only temporarily, in a world far beyond his own. As the immediate danger passed, Daniel felt a new sense of purpose. He had proven himself in action, but he also realized that the journey ahead would demand more than skill. It would demand trust, understanding, and the ability to inspire hope across worlds. The alien Queen turned toward him, her eyes glowing faintly in the light of the chamber. "Come," she said. "The next part of your journey awaits. You will face tests that challenge everything you know about courage, loyalty, and connection. But I have seen your spirit. You are ready to continue." Daniel straightened, taking a deep breath. He was ready. Not just to survive, but to grow, to learn, and to show the best of humanity in a world that had never seen it before. After the battle had ended, the palace slowly returned to its usual calm. Daniel followed the alien Queen through winding corridors, the echoes of the alarm still lingering in his mind. Despite the success, he felt a strange tension, as though the palace itself was watching him, waiting for his next move. Finally, they reached a door unlike any he had seen. It was wide, carved from a single piece of crystalline material, glowing faintly with colors that shifted like sunlight on water. The queen paused and looked at him. "Few humans have entered this place," she said. "It is my private garden, a place of peace and reflection. Here, you may rest and speak freely, if you choose." Daniel felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. The palace had been overwhelming in its grandeur, but he sensed that this garden was different. It was smaller, enclosed, yet expansive in its own way. He stepped through the door and gasped. The garden was alive with color and motion. Trees with silver leaves shimmered in a soft light. Flowers glowed gently, their petals pulsing as if breathing. Small streams of water curved through the landscape, reflecting the light like moving mirrors. Strange birds with luminous feathers flew silently above, and gentle breezes carried scents Daniel had never known. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. The queen walked beside him, her steps quiet, almost floating above the glowing ground. She did not speak at first, letting him take in the beauty. Daniel felt calm in a way he had never felt in the palace. It was as if the garden itself encouraged honesty and reflection. "Why show me this place?" Daniel asked finally, his voice soft. "It is beautiful beyond anything I imagined." The queen's eyes softened. "This garden is a place of trust. Those who enter it are expected to reveal what is within themselves. Fear, doubt, hope, and joy are all welcome here. I wish to understand the human heart as much as you wish to understand mine." Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had faced trials, danger, and judgment, but this was different. Here, there were no rules, no tests, only honesty. "I will do my best," he said. "I hope I can show you who I truly am." The queen smiled faintly. "That is all I ask." They walked along a winding path lined with glowing flowers. Daniel noticed that the queen did not rush. Her eyes occasionally flicked to him, observing his reactions to the plants, the streams, and the small creatures that flitted around. There was curiosity in her gaze, and perhaps a hint of amusement at his fascination. "Your people live on a small world," she said after a while. "I have studied Earth, but I do not truly know it. Tell me, human, what is it like?" Daniel thought of oceans, mountains, and forests. He spoke of simple joys, walking on a beach, feeling rain on his skin, the taste of fresh fruit, the laughter of children. He told her about the bonds humans shared, the small acts of kindness that carried great meaning. The queen listened, silent and attentive. Daniel noticed the way her glowing eyes softened when he spoke of hope and friendship. It was unlike any reaction he had ever seen from an alien. "Your people value connection," she said finally. "It is a strength, not a weakness. I see why you have endured the Hall of Truth and the trials in my palace. You carry more than skill. You carry understanding." Daniel felt warmth rise in his chest. It was a rare thing for someone so powerful to acknowledge him in this way. "I try to do what is right," he said humbly. "I have learned that even small actions matter if they help others." They reached a small pond where the water shimmered with light from beneath. The queen knelt and touched the surface, creating ripples that reflected stars that did not exist in the sky outside. "Humans are different from my people," she said. "We value strength and knowledge above all else. But you're kind, you value the spirit. You act not only for survival but for others. That is why I watch you closely, Daniel. There is something in you worth knowing." Daniel knelt beside her, following her gesture in the water. He could see the reflection of his own face, but it seemed softer here, calmer. I I want to understand your people too," he said. "I want to learn, not just fight or survive. I want to build trust." The queen's hand hovered above the water, her glowing fingers reflecting in the ripples. "Trust is not given easily," she said. "It must be earned, and it must be felt. Today, you have earned some. But there is more to understand: emotions, bonds, and choices that define who we are. Daniel listened, absorbing her words. He realized that this garden was not just a place of beauty, it was a place of learning. Every plant, every stream, every creature seemed designed to teach patience, observation, and respect for life. He had faced danger and trials, but here, the challenge was understanding and connection. A gentle breeze passed through the garden, carrying the soft scent of flowers. The queen stood, her eyes meeting his with a directness that made Daniel's heart quicken. "You have courage and honesty, Daniel of Earth," she said. "But there is something else I notice. You respect life, even when it is fragile or strange. That is rare, even among your own kind. It is why I believe you can understand not only humans but my people as well." Daniel felt a quiet pride. "I have learned that life is valuable, no matter where it exists," he said. "And that understanding is stronger than any weapon." The queen nodded. "You speak well. That is why I have brought you here, away from the palace's strict halls. I wanted to see if your heart is as strong as your mind and courage. You have shown me that it is." For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the glowing waters of the pond. Daniel realized that he felt a bond forming not just with the queen herself, but with the world she protected. It was as if the garden had given him a small glimpse of her people's spirit, their care, and their pride. Finally, the queen spoke again. "Daniel, know this: courage is tested in battle, but character is tested in peace. You have shown both. There will be more trials, challenges that demand action and judgment. But for now, I see the human you truly are." Daniel bowed his head slightly, feeling the weight and honor of her words. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I hope I can continue to prove myself worthy." The queen's eyes glimmered faintly, a mix of curiosity and approval. "You have already begun, Daniel. Remember this garden and what you have learned here. Connection and understanding are as important as courage. Keep them close, and you may find that the challenges ahead will test not only your skill but the depth of your spirit." As they walked back toward the palace chambers, Daniel felt a new sense of purpose. The garden had shown him that his mission was not only about survival or proving strength, it was about understanding, respect, and the ability to connect across worlds. He realized that the alien queen was not simply a ruler, she was a being who valued the spirit as much as skill, and he wanted to honor that trust. For the first time since his arrival, Daniel felt a quiet confidence. He had faced danger, tests, and now reflection. Each step he took in the palace was not just toward proving humanity's worth but toward understanding a world vastly different from his own. The palace had returned to its usual calm, though the energy of the recent tests still lingered in the air. Daniel walked beside the alien queen through the grand halls, their steps echoing softly against the glowing floors. He had learned more about her people and their ways in the secret garden than he had in the Hall of Truth or even during the defense of the palace. And yet, he knew the journey ahead would demand much more. "Daniel," the queen said quietly, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the corridors, "you have faced fear and danger, yet you have not faltered. You have shown patience, courage, and understanding. These qualities are rare. Tell me, human, what guides you?" Daniel paused, thinking carefully. "I try to do what is right," he said finally. "I think about the people I care for, the lessons I have learned, and the chance to make the world better. Even if it is small, even if it is hard, I try to choose the path that helps others." The queen regarded him silently, her luminous eyes narrowing slightly in thought. "Humans speak often of hope, loyalty, and trust," she said. "We value strength and wisdom above all else. Your kind places value on what is unseen, yet I see its effect. You inspire those around you without words. That is why I watch you closely." Daniel felt warmth at her words. It was rare to be understood so completely by a being so different from him. "I have learned that life is stronger when we care for others," he said. "Even the smallest act of kindness can make a difference. I hope my actions can show that humanity is capable of more than destruction." The Queen's lips curved in a faint smile. "That is exactly what I wish to understand. You demonstrate qualities we admire but rarely see. Humans are unpredictable, yet you bring honor and connection wherever you go. It is refreshing." As they walked, Daniel noticed guards and attendants watching him, but no one dared interrupt. It was clear that the Queen valued his presence. He realized that she was observing not just his courage or skill, but his character, the way he spoke, moved, and treated others. They arrived at a chamber filled with images and holograms of other worlds. Daniel recognized some: Earth, Mars, and other distant human colonies. Others were unknown, planets with strange colors and creatures beyond his understanding. The Queen gestured toward them. "These worlds are connected, Daniel," she said. "And yet, humans are often judged by a single action or a single failure. You have demonstrated that your kind is capable of more. How do you see your people in comparison to the civilizations you encounter?" Daniel stepped closer, studying the projections. "Humans are not perfect," he said honestly. "We make mistakes. We fail sometimes. But we also learn, grow, and try again. Our strength is not only in our skill, but in our willingness to improve, to connect, and to protect others. That is why I believe humans can form bonds with other worlds, even ones very different from our own." The Queen watched him quietly, as if weighing his words. Then she nodded. "Your insight is accurate. You see the value not only in victory, but in growth and cooperation. That is what sets humans apart. It is why I wish to test your spirit further, not in battle, but in connection." Before Daniel could ask what she meant, the chamber shifted. Holograms faded, and he found himself in a space resembling a council hall. Alien beings of different shapes and sizes filled the room. Some had scales, some had luminous skin, and others moved in ways he had never seen before. They stared at him with curiosity, suspicion, and, in some cases, subtle admiration. "These are the council members," the Queen explained. "They will judge your actions, not with weapons, but with questions and observation. You must demonstrate that humanity is worthy of trust and alliance." Daniel nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best." The council spoke one by one, posing questions about loyalty, courage, and morality. They asked how he would act in situations where his choices could harm others or where failure might be disastrous. Daniel answered honestly, relying on his experience, his training, and the principles he had grown up with on Earth. At times, he felt the weight of their doubt. Some council members whispered among themselves, shaking their heads, clearly unconvinced by his answers. But Daniel remained calm, speaking with clarity and honesty. He realized that he could not please everyone, only act with integrity. The Queen observed silently, her expression unreadable. But Daniel noticed the way her eyes followed him closely, as if she were measuring more than his words. She was watching his confidence, his humility, and the honesty in his voice. After what seemed like hours, the council grew silent. The Queen stood and addressed them. "Daniel of Earth has shown courage, wisdom, and understanding. He speaks with honesty and acts with integrity. His presence here demonstrates the potential for connection and trust between our peoples. I accept him as a guest, and I propose that you observe, rather than judge, his actions from now on." The council members murmured but eventually nodded, their expressions softening. Daniel felt a mixture of relief and pride. He had faced scrutiny, fear, and doubt, yet he had remained true to himself. The Queen turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. "You see, Daniel, courage is not only tested in battle. It is tested in understanding, patience, and honesty. You have proven yourself not only to me, but to others who had reason to doubt you. That is the strength of humanity, its ability to connect, inspire, and endure. Daniel felt his chest swell with quiet pride. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I hope I can continue to show that humans are capable of honor and trust, even in worlds far from our own." The Queen's gaze softened. "You have already begun. Your spirit has impressed me, and your presence has reminded my people that courage and connection are intertwined. I sense that there is more to learn, both from you and from your kind. That is why I wish to spend time understanding you, not as a ruler observing a guest, but as a being seeking knowledge." Daniel felt a strange warmth at her words. It was rare to be respected and understood so fully by someone so powerful. "I am honored, Your Majesty," he said. "I hope to learn as much from you as I can." The Queen inclined her head. "Then we will proceed together. There are trials ahead that will demand not only courage, but insight, empathy, and judgment. You have already begun to show what humans can achieve. Continue on this path, Daniel, and you may discover strengths in yourself that even you did not know existed." As they walked through the halls, Daniel felt a bond forming. It was not simple friendship, and it was not just trust. It was something deeper, a recognition of courage, honor, and spirit across worlds. He understood that the Queen's interest in him was not only personal curiosity but also a hope for what humanity could bring to her people: connection, understanding, and strength beyond measure. Daniel realized that this bond was rare, precious, and powerful. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or technology, but in its ability to act with integrity, courage, and compassion. And as he continued to walk beside the Queen, he felt that his mission was no longer only about survival or proving himself. It was about showing the best of humanity to a world that had never seen it before. The palace hummed with quiet energy as Daniel followed the alien Queen toward a vast chamber he had not seen before. The walls shimmered with moving patterns of light, and the floor reflected their images as if they were walking on water. Daniel could feel the weight of the Queen's presence beside him. She did not speak, but he knew that she was preparing him for a trial far more difficult than any he had faced so far. "This chamber," the Queen said finally, "is where the council tests not your strength or courage, but your spirit. Here, you must face illusions of fear, doubt, and temptation. Many have entered and failed. Few have emerged with their honor intact. Are you prepared, Daniel of Earth?" Daniel straightened his shoulders. "I am ready, Your Majesty. I will do my best." The Queen nodded. She raised her hand, and the chamber changed. The walls became mirrors that reflected not only his body but his memories, his choices, and his fears. The floor beneath him rippled like water, creating waves that shifted with every step. Daniel realized that this test would challenge him in ways he had never imagined. The first illusion appeared. He found himself back on Earth, in a city engulfed by chaos. Fires burned across buildings, and people ran in panic. Daniel recognized faces from his past friends and family in danger. A voice echoed in the chamber, soft but commanding, "Save them, or all is lost. Only your actions can prevent disaster." Daniel's heart raced, but he reminded himself of the lessons he had learned in the palace. Fear was not to be avoided but faced. He focused, moving through the chaos, directing people to safety. His mind worked quickly, calculating the safest paths and the most efficient ways to help. With steady hands and calm decisions, he guided those in danger to safety, feeling a sense of relief as the scene dissolved around him. "Good," a voice said. Daniel knew it was the Queen's. "You have faced fear and acted with clarity. But the challenge has only begun." The chamber shifted again. This time, Daniel was floating in a space that seemed infinite. Strange shapes swirled around him, forming faces he had never seen. Some were angry, some sorrowful, and others appeared threatening. They spoke without words, projecting feelings of doubt, failure, and mistrust directly into his mind. Daniel felt panic rising, but he focused on the values he had carried all his life. "I am not perfect," he said to the illusions. "I will make mistakes, but I will act with honesty and courage. I will not allow fear to control me." The illusions hesitated, then slowly faded. Daniel realized that this test was not about defeating enemies but about remaining true to himself in the face of overwhelming doubt. He had passed another part of the council's challenge. The next illusion appeared suddenly. Daniel was back in the palace, but the queen was missing. Alien generals and council members surrounded him, their expressions cold and judging. "You are not worthy," one said. "Your kind cannot be trusted. Leave now, or face exile." Daniel's chest tightened, but he remembered the lessons of patience and understanding. He did not argue or fight. Instead, he spoke calmly. "I understand your caution. I cannot demand trust. But I can show it through my actions, my honesty, and my willingness to protect and serve. That is the essence of humanity." The illusions wavered, then vanished. The chamber returned to its original state, with the queen standing quietly before him. She studied him with glowing eyes, her expression unreadable. "You have endured fear, doubt, and mistrust," she said. "Few beings face these tests and remain unchanged. You have not only survived, Daniel, but you have done so with integrity and honor. That is why I believe humanity has a place among the stars." Daniel felt a swell of pride but remained humble. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only act as I believe is right. I hope my actions can represent my people well." The queen's hand hovered above his shoulder, a gesture of approval and trust. "The final test in this chamber is the most subtle. You must inspire confidence in others, even those who doubt you. Actions alone are not enough, your spirit must be visible, and your choices must reflect the values you hold." Suddenly, holograms of the council appeared, along with alien observers from distant worlds. They watched silently, waiting to see how Daniel would act. The illusions were subtle, whispers of doubt, questions about his motives, and visions of failure. Some appeared to tempt him with power or personal gain, while others sought to provoke fear. Daniel took a deep breath. He did not speak to the illusions directly. Instead, he focused on remaining calm, honest, and true to his values. He acted with purpose, showing kindness, courage, and intelligence. Slowly, the chamber seemed to respond. The whispers faded, and the observers' expressions softened. Even the holographic council members appeared impressed by his integrity and composure. "You see, Daniel," the queen said softly, "true strength is not in force alone. It is in understanding, patience, and the courage to act rightly even when others doubt you. Humans possess a quality that is rare among intelligent beings, the ability to inspire trust and hope through their actions and their heart." Daniel nodded. "I have learned that courage is not only in facing danger but also in remaining honest, helping others, and staying true to one's values. That is the path I follow." The queen's eyes glimmered faintly. "You have passed the challenge of the council. You have demonstrated bravery, insight, and the unique strength of humanity. Few would endure these trials without faltering. You have shown that your kind is capable of greatness beyond what many believe." Daniel exhaled, feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment. He had faced fear, doubt, illusions, and judgment. Yet he had remained steadfast. More than that, he had shown that humanity's strength lay not in technology or weapons alone, but in integrity, courage, and connection. The chamber shifted back to its quiet, glowing state. The queen stood beside him, her presence calm and reassuring. "Daniel of Earth," she said, "you have passed trials that test both mind and heart. Remember this, your journey is far from over. Greater challenges await, but you now possess the knowledge and confidence to face them. Humanity has proven its worth, not through conquest, but through spirit. Daniel bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will carry these lessons with me and continue to act with courage, honor, and respect." The Queen inclined her head, a faint smile on her lips. "Come, Daniel. The Council has witnessed your trials. Now it is time for reflection and preparation. You will rest, recover, and learn more about the world and the people you are here to understand. But know this, the journey ahead will test every part of you, and you are ready." As they walked toward the exit, Daniel felt a quiet confidence he had never experienced before. He had faced trials designed to challenge his mind, spirit, and heart. He had emerged not only intact but strengthened. And he understood now that humanity's greatest power was not in force, but in courage, connection, and the ability to inspire trust and hope across worlds. For the first time since his arrival, Daniel felt certain of one thing: he was no longer just a visitor in the palace. He was part of something greater, a mission that could show the best of humanity to beings far beyond Earth. And with the alien queen watching closely, he knew he had begun a journey that could change the fate of two worlds. The palace was calm, bathed in the soft glow of alien light. Daniel walked beside the alien queen through the halls, the quiet hum of energy beneath their feet a reminder of the power and majesty surrounding them. He had faced trials of courage, insight, and connection. He had endured fear, doubt, and judgment, yet he had remained true to himself. Now, he sensed that the most personal moment of his journey was near. The Queen led him to a high balcony overlooking the palace grounds. Below, the gardens shimmered in colors Daniel had never seen, reflecting pools and glowing plants moving in harmony with the gentle breeze. It was a scene of peace, beauty, and trust, a stark contrast to the trials and chaos he had faced before. "Daniel," the Queen said, her voice soft yet commanding, "you have proven yourself in ways few could. Courage, honor, and wisdom alone do not earn trust among my people. You have also shown patience, understanding, and the ability to inspire others. That is why I wish to speak to you now, not as a ruler to a guest, but as one being to another." Daniel turned to face her fully, meeting her glowing eyes with steady resolve. "I am listening, Your Majesty," he said. "And I will do my best to honor your words." The Queen paused, looking out over the gardens as if gathering her thoughts. "From the moment you arrived, you have been tested by fear, danger, and doubt. You have faced the Hall of Truth, the challenge of my council, and trials that would break the resolve of many. Yet you endured. You acted with integrity, courage, and compassion. You have shown that humanity's strength lies not only in skill or technology, but in spirit." Daniel felt a warmth rise in his chest. He had not come to the palace seeking praise or recognition. His mission was to represent Earth, to show the worth of his people through his actions. And yet, hearing the Queen acknowledge the depth of his spirit, he realized the journey had also transformed him. The Queen turned fully to him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she stepped closer, her presence radiating authority and curiosity. "Daniel, there is a bond that has grown between us during your time here. You have faced every challenge not with fear, but with courage and understanding. You have earned not only respect but trust. And now, I must ask you a question that is both personal and profound." Daniel's heart quickened. He had faced warships, illusions, and councils of alien leaders, but the weight of her words made him feel a different kind of pressure, one that tested his honesty, his judgment, and his own understanding of connection. "I am ready, Your Majesty," he said. "I will answer as truthfully as I can." The Queen took a deep breath, and her eyes softened in a way Daniel had not seen before. "Tell me, human, would you marry me?" The question struck him like a bolt of light. He blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. This was not a test of skill, courage, or wisdom, but a deeply personal request from the being who had guided, challenged, and observed him for weeks. Daniel felt the weight of it, the implications for himself, for humanity, and for the bond they had formed. He looked at her, Noting the glow in her eyes, the calm strength in her posture, and the trust she had placed in him. He realized that this was not simply a question of ceremony or ritual. It was an acknowledgement of the connection, understanding, and mutual respect that had grown between them. "Your Majesty," he said finally, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him, "I am honored by your trust and your words. I have learned more than I could have imagined from your people and from you. I I would be proud to stand with you, not only as an ally, but as a partner. I accept." The Queen's eyes brightened with what seemed to be relief and approval. A small smile curved her lips, the first fully human expression he had seen on her radiant face. "Then it is settled," she said. "We will move forward together, not only as representatives of our peoples, but as partners in understanding, courage, and spirit." Daniel felt a profound sense of purpose and connection. He had come to the palace to prove humanity's worth, but he had found something greater, a bond of trust and respect that crossed worlds. He understood that this choice was not about conquest or power, but about collaboration, honor, and mutual care. The Queen extended her hand, and Daniel took it. The contact was warm and steady, a symbol of commitment that went beyond words. Around them, the palace seemed to glow brighter, as if acknowledging the harmony between human and alien. Guards and attendants bowed respectfully, sensing the significance of the moment, though they did not intrude. "You have shown what humanity can achieve," the Queen said, her voice gentle. "Courage, patience, and honesty are rare even among my people. You have brought these qualities to life, and in doing so, you have reminded us of what it means to connect across differences. That is a bond worth more than any victory or conquest." Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I have learned that true strength is not measured by force or technology, but by the courage to act with integrity and the willingness to care for others. I hope to continue proving that humanity can bring value, not only in war or skill, but in spirit and connection." The Queen's smile widened slightly. "Then our path is clear. Together, we will explore what is possible between our worlds. You will continue to show humanity's strength, and I will ensure that your efforts are recognized and respected. But most importantly, we will face the future together, as partners." As they stood on the balcony, overlooking the glowing gardens and the palace beyond, Daniel felt a sense of completion and anticipation. He had faced trials, danger, and judgment. He had demonstrated courage, insight, and humanity's unique strength. And now, he had formed a bond that transcended worlds, built on respect, trust, and understanding. For the first time, Daniel realized that his mission had not only been to prove humanity's worth but to show that connection, integrity, and courage could create bridges between civilizations. The alien Queen had not only tested him, she had recognized the heart of humanity that he carried with him. And as they looked out together, hand in hand, Daniel knew that the story of Earth and the palace world was only beginning. Their partnership symbolized hope, courage, and the power of the human spirit to reach beyond fear, danger, and difference. The palace was no longer just a place of tests and trials. It was a world where understanding, respect, and trust could flourish. And Daniel, the human who had come to prove his people's worth, had found not only acceptance but a partner in the alien Queen, someone who valued him for his courage, heart, and spirit. The stars above the palace glowed softly, reflecting in the pools and streams below. Daniel felt a quiet determination within him. There would be challenges ahead, new trials, and opportunities to grow. But he knew now that humanity's greatest strength was not in conquest or power, but in its courage, honor, and ability to connect.